Hey everybody, I was doing a bunch of work in the fish room today, and I'm moving some fish around to start spawning projects. And I was actually listening to a live stream this morning from Peter at Guppy Guru about his fish foods. So as I was thinking about it, I was going to do a couple other videos, which I'll get to on discus, on keeping them, breeding them, and all that stuff. But he was talking about food, so I kind of wanted to go over food that I use. Now, this is a little extreme, but I've switched my room over from a discus room to more of a variety. I still love discus. I've been breeding them for a long time, but I wanted to expand a little bit. I wanted to try something different, so I started doing catfish, which is one of my true loves that I've done for a long time. I've been very passionate about catfish. I've bred a ton of catfish, but the thing is when I started discus in the 90s, it was frowned upon to keep angelfish and corydoras and certain catfish around your discus because they were thought to spread disease. Now today we know that's totally false, but that was just the way, it got started back then with rumors before the internet actually, and that was just kind of the thinking when you talk to top discus breeders. They didn't want catfish, angelfish, really any other fish in their rooms for the fear of disease. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about diseases with my discus. I don't have problems with my discus having diseases anymore, but there was a time when I would actually buy the Metro and the Prozzy almost by the truckload because it was constant battle, and I figured out a few things to help. I just felt like they were being over treated with antibiotics, and I just was not comfortable, so I searched and tried all different kinds of methods. Now, I do treat my discus and most fish when they come into my room, depending where they come from a top breeder. Usually I'll just quarantine them for a month and watch them out. I want to talk about what foods I use for what and why I use them. So first, let's start with the frozens, because I have them on my table here and I want to get them back in the freezer. So one thing I do with my frozens is every week or two I go through and I pack these little containers. These I get at the dollar store. A lot of stuff I buy as far as supplies, whenever I can, I'm constantly scanning dollar store, Walmart for cheaper products. Now I know the quality's not there and I understand that, but if I can spend $1 on something like this and it lasts me 6 months, I'm pretty happy with that. But I've had these for about a year now and they're pretty good. So I buy these containers and I split them up every 2 weeks. So I'm not bringing out the packages over and over and over again. They sit in the freezer and these come out. And what I do is I put them on this counter here and I let them thaw for about 5 minutes, and that way, depending what it is, if I have to break it. Now I don't buy a lot of the 1 pound packages because they're just so hard to break. So I usually buy ½ pound. But what I found is the bloodworms I do buy in the pound because they're easy to break. And I'll go over why I buy certain things. So the Cyclops and Daphnia, pretty standard. I think the Cyclops is San Francisco and the Daphnia is Hikari. So, and I just put these together because they're both small. Now the Cyclops is smaller. So first fry usually right around brine shrimp, or even before brine shrimp. You can get it with that Cyclops. Daphnia is usually after the brine shrimp. And this is just ease. I can, if I'm going to work and I don't want to settle my brine shrimp, I can go grab a couple of cubes and just throw it in the tank and walk away. So these containers are awesome. So I use them because I find if I use it like this, I tend to feed it more. My fish are healthier, and I'm here to breed fish. I love keeping fish, and I do have a display tank that I keep, but I also am breeding. So live baby brine, frozen. Now I feed my frozen only 2 or 3 times a week, okay? Because it's expensive. But I do feed it to certain fish constantly. So the Cyclops and Daphnia, fry, but I also feed it to my cory cats because I find they like to sift through the sand, and this is so small that they spend literally hours digging through that sand. It's awesome to watch. So Cyclops, Daphnia, usually the Daphnia. The Cyclops I save for tiny fish. And then bloodworms. So I want to talk about bloodworms. I only feed Hikari. I do not feed the San Francisco bloodworms, and I never feed my discus bloodworms. Now I want to explain why. I know they probably look like something you should feed a discus, but what I find is the casings on the bloodworms actually cause problems. The day I stopped, and I tested and tested and tested, the day I stopped feeding bloodworms to my discus, 95% of my problems stopped. And when I was buying literally Metro in sizes like this, I moved down to a container like this, and it lasts me over a year now. So, and I buy my Metro through Everything Aquatics, I believe. I have it off camera. I can look at that and make sure. Yeah, I think it's Everything Aquatics. Yeah, so this is at Everything Aquatics. So I don't have to buy it anymore. And that is the one thing is I do treat my fish when they come in, but I do not feed my discus bloodworms. Now there is a worm I feed them, but it's not the frozen bloodworms. I just find that the problems, and I don't think it's a disease issue as far as in the bloodworms. I think it is the casings get stuck in their system and it causes issues and stress. So just something I don't do, and it's helped me immensely, and it's something that I found, and actually I talked to a breeder once and he told me about it and I tried it and it worked. So bloodworms. Hikari, it's the grade A bloodworm, okay? San Francisco, the B. So you want to go with the grade A. Hikari. Now I want to talk about the brine shrimp, frozen brine shrimp. Now this one I do San Francisco Bay. San Francisco Bay is the A grade and the Hikari is the B grade on the shrimp. So they're opposite. So understand that you're going to get a better product. And feeding this is something that in the morning, if I'm in a hurry, I can grab this package, drop it in my tanks, and be gone and be done within a couple minutes. It goes, pops right back in. So I like it because it's more sanitary. I don't have to take out as much. So I'm filling this up about every 7 to 10 days. Usually I can stretch it out 2 weeks. Okay? So San Francisco shrimp, frozen, preferred. Mysis. This is San Francisco. I really like this. Now this is what when I'm conditioning my discus anglerfish, this Mysis, if you smell it, it has a sea, an ocean smell to it. It is awesome. So conditioning, now there's other things I use, but this is my main go-to when I'm conditioning discus to breed. But it also helps them grow. And I just find it's more of something that goes through their system and kind of cleans out their system, but it also has lots of protein in it. Now when you read the protein on these packages, they're going to say low, 6, 8, 10%. The reason why they do that is because they go by weight and most of it's water. Now understand that. That's why you're getting those low proteins. They're high in protein. So the Mysis San Francisco, amazing. This stuff is the secret, or one of the secrets. I'm going to go through a couple more. Okay. Love this. Plecos. Green beans. I just buy by the case, and I buy a ton of it, and I just stick it in my storage room, and I need a can, and this holds exactly 1 can. I don't care salted, unsalted, French cut, it doesn't matter to me. I just buy the cheapest. And this stuff's amazing, because you think plecos, but I put it in with my cory cats. They nibble on it. I don't put a lot in like the plecos, but when I throw it in my community tanks, my barbs will pick at it. My rainbow fish will pick at it. Everyone kind of picks at it. So everyone needs that vegetation in their diet. I don't care what fish it is. Most of them will eat these green beans. Now they're not going to eat a green bean, but they chew on it. And what happens is the plecos gnaw on it. It kind of sprinkles off, and the other fish eat it. Green beans. It's something that I really believe in. Easy to feed. Containers make it easy again. Okay. Protein, protein, protein. So rapashi grub pie. So what I do with this is I make up a pound of it or whatever it is, and I usually do the 3-to-1 ratio. I think it's 3 parts water to 1 part. So I go as much water as I can to make more, and then I freeze it. I put it in the freezer. I put it in a big block, and then I break it up, put it in a frozen plastic bag, stick it in the freezer, and pull this out. Plecos. If you want to breed plecos, if you want to breed cories, if you want to breed any kind of catfish, This is a secret. Keep it away from your discus. It causes bloat and discus. I know they say it's good for growing up fish. I've had issues before. And in a small amount, probably okay. But don't put a lot of this in your discus tanks. But everything else, literally I'll throw a clump in my L number, my leopard frog, my king tiger, my Allen Kerr tigers, all those, my clowns, all my bristle nose, my green dragons, everything. This is it. So these two kind of go towards the catfish, and it kind of evens it out. Now there's dry foods, and I'll go over the dry foods. That kind of takes care of, so 6 packs of frozen, okay? So I'm gonna go put these away, and then I'll talk about the rest of my stuff here. Okay, so live foods, baby brine shrimp. There, always have it going. If you're breeding fish, you have to have this going all the time. I don't care what you think as far as I can do dry foods or frozen. Secret, right there. Okay, this one is my brown one is for tomorrow, and this one is half done today, and it has the supplements in it. So one of the secrets, okay, but a must. If you want to breed fish, I don't care what kind of fish, the baby brine shrimp. My big fish eat it. I have large discus that chew on it. My angelfish eat it, all my adults and stuff. And right behind me I have or right behind you actually, I have the angelfish with about 250 fry on there. So I pop in 2 squirts of the brine, and the parents kind of let the babies eat, but then that brine gets stuck to the corners because of the light, and I'll watch them, and they'll just graze on that for literally an hour. They'll sit there and eat that baby brine. So great for them, okay? Microworms. So the microworms, I change out every 45 days. I never let it go more than 2 months. Now I have multiple cultures just in case one crashes. I haven't had that happen yet because I'm pretty good about putting the date on and then knowing that I need to change it out. So one thing I do is potatoes, and then I add, you guys know me and my spirulina, I add a little bit of spirulina in there. So it tends to keep them healthier longer. I think it's that extra food source, but also they're digesting that, and that gets in the fish. I use this mostly for cories, catfish, babies, fry. I don't really use it for rainbows because it kind of goes to the bottom. So you got to think, where are the babies? Are they on the top or the bottom? Bottom fish, I want to use the microworms, and I use other products, and I'll go over that. But for the rainbow fish, I want to use this product here, which is vinegar eels. So here's how I do it. I do have cultures of vinegar eels that are in pure vinegar with apple cider, with the apples in there and stuff. They're in big jugs. So what I do is, it was a pain getting in and out of that. So I saw a breeder doing this, and like I said, if you can find something that works, do it. So I got these at the dollar store. Just an ugly base, but it works. And then what I do is I fill up with seasoned vinegar eels, stick some batting in there, and then I fill this top up with soft water. So what happens is, they fight their way through the batting, and this is just filtered media. They fight their way through, and it's going to be hard. Oh, you might be able to see. So all that fog is in vinegar eels. Rainbow fish, rams, baby discus if I have to take them away from the parents. Most mid to top, I use the vinegar eels, and I just take a little pipette, I stick it in. That's probably 1 million vinegar eels, and then just shoot it in the tank. So this makes life easy, and I change this out probably once a month, okay? And there's always vinegar eels in there. If I notice every now and then I'm looking, I stop seeing that fog, I will change it out. I just take this, I don't throw this away, I get rid of the water here, and then I pull this out. That's why I have this string here, so I can just kind of yank this thing out, and then I pour the vinegar back into the containers. So that way I'm not having to buy vinegar, the vinegar over and over again. Now, after about a year, I have to replenish that because it just evaporates. It goes away a little bit here and there, and spills and stuff like that. So, great for first fry. Rainbow fish, it's a must. Okay? Tiny, tiny, tiny. But I've also fed it to my cory cats, and they kind of come up. Cory cats can kind of go mid-water, and they'll go through the water and filter them out. But the microworms are better. Okay? So, and literally, that's easy. It makes life easy. Okay? Always trying to make life easy. Okay? So I'm going to go and put this stuff over here. Now, you see all this food here on the thumbnail. You've probably seen it all, and I kind of want to go through it real quick. It looks like a lot of food, but all this here, all this stuff here is in my fridge. Not this or this, but all this other stuff goes in my fridge, so it stays. So I don't have it in my fish room all day long. Okay, I keep this in my fish room. So what I do is, and all these I'll go through. So I have these little square containers, and I fill them about quarter. And that way I know I'm going through this food about once a week. Every 2 weeks maybe. So this is my main feeding, and I'll go over all the different foods I have in here. And then the discus pellets. So I'll go through this because this is the most amazing food on the planet. And then this one, I do dollar store, all the containers. For my catfish. So I make a blend for them. And this is something that I just kind of throw in here and there. I do feed my catfish at night. My lights go out at 10. I usually come about 10:30 and drop stuff in, either frozen or this. But they get fed separate. And then flake food, same thing, dollar store. And I mix my own, I think they call it a community blend. I take the spirulina and the krill flake and mix my own. I just like that. And then the Hikari bloodworms. So I bring these down. I have them in my fridge. I have about 4 or 5 packages of this. So this is the worm I feed my discus. I feed it. The angelfish tend to seem to not to like it as much, but my discus go crazy for it. Now, it is freeze dried. It is eradicated. It's clean. It's awesome. You stick it on the front glass, and they sit there and they graze on it. Okay. 2 or 3 times a week, I feed this to all my discus. There is kind of a, I would say just misinformation on the tube effects. Now, I would never feed live tube effects worms to my fish because I understand where they come from. It's sewer water mostly. But these things are amazing. I don't tend to feed it to all my fish, but it really kind of goes to my discus because I'm limited on frozen food for them. So I find this is high in protein and it works awesome. This is my medicated food, which I'll go over. This is for the wafers. Now, I mix in the Sarah. I'm going to talk a little bit about Sarah foods. I mix it with the extreme tablets, the Sarah on wood chips. But also I have the extreme. So I kind of mix this together. So I'm constantly trying to mix food to cut down on feeding times. Okay? When I come in, I want to make sure I'm fed and I'm done. I have 35 tanks. I want to make sure I'm going to go up to 60 tanks. I don't want to spend time grabbing containers and moving and figuring what I fed and what I fed. So I've kind of learned to combine things. And then I want to talk about this, the last one. This is a little different here. So if you look in here, these are the big pellets. And then they gave me some black worm pellets, which I wasn't too happy about, but they were kind of included in an order I got. So I don't like to feed my discus floating food. I try to sink it. So I just kind of feed this to fish. Now, the thought process is I don't have any fish that can take this pellet in one shot. But like in the morning sometimes for my guppies and my platies and my mollies and my pond, I'll take 2 or 3 pellets of this and I'll throw this in and think of it like an apple. And kind of just munch on it all day long. It is amazing. And I'll kind of go over which product this is. So, this is a trick I learned from Goliad Farms, I believe in Texas. He talks about this all the time, how he feeds his fish. And I just thought it was awesome, and I tried it, and it works. It's amazing. Because they could just graze on it all day long. Now, the more fish, the more pellets. I have a couple fish and it's one pellet. Like my guppy breeder tanks, there's probably only like 12 fish. I throw one of these in, and literally I'll come home at noon or 1 and it'll be gone. But I watch them and they graze on for hours. Okay. So, easy. This is my feeding for my fish room, okay? I can go through this and it feeds all my tanks. I've really condensed it down, I've combined, okay? So now I'm going to kind of go through the products I use as far as, so the Metro Flake. I bought this when I was in the heat of, and it's old and it's probably starting to go bad. I'm probably going to have to throw some of it away, I don't know. So it's Everything Aquatics. They are amazing. Their quality is just off the charts as far as the medications and stuff like that. The API, I had a scientist do a little bit of testing on it, and it's a lot of salts. So what I find is their Metro Prazi mix is pretty pure. So that's just something personally. So this is something I use in conjunction with my water treatments. I don't use a lot of it. I don't. When I bought it, I didn't know it was a pound. I mismarked it. I would have never bought a pound. I probably would have bought the 1 ounce because I will never use all this. So that was my fault. I have used it, but I don't give it to fish unless it's something that I see in the fish that needs it. So Everything Aquatic, great. So that's the product I have here in this little jar, and I'm just going to keep it aside. Now I've had this for almost 9 months, and it's just getting to the bottom. So I'll probably fill this up one more time, and then I'll have to throw this away, unfortunately, unless there's someone that wants it locally. But it's going to go bad. So that's one thing. It's in the fridge all the time. So that's one thing with these products. They're all in the fridge. These are in my fish room, and that's the thing. My process for freezing and refrigerating stuff is I want to make sure that it's staying pure because I don't want to feed expired food. Okay, so that's one. I want to talk about this product here. Expensive, but let me tell you something. If you want to grow discus and rams with dry food, this stuff is off the charts. It's amazing. The growth I get with the Sarah foods, there's something in it that is just, I don't know, it's German. I'm German, so I might be biased, but I have never fed a food. So this food right here goes in this container here with a couple other, and so I mix it. So you see on top the Sarah, and I buy this, and it's probably 20 bucks online with shipping. So it's not, to me, that's not bad. It's worth it because of the results. So for me, it's about I want a value, but over value, I want quality. If I get a quality product that has good value, I'm happy. So I'm willing to pay more. I can't stress enough if you're trying to grow discus with dry foods. You have to supplement it a little bit, but this stuff, I could just feed this alone, and I would grow discus to healthy sizes. If you've seen my discus, you know that I grow into good shapes and everything. Sarah, I can't stress enough how good this stuff is. Okay, but I also mix this Sarah because it's expensive, so I want to kind of offset it. And what I've found is when the fish are grazing, I've watched them eat the food, and they go around and they look for the different pellets. They like the Sarah, and this extreme, it's the 1.5. So that's the second. That's the third here. So it's in here. So that good mixture, and they're pretty close. The Sarah is a little bigger, so it's a little bit smaller pellet. But something about that krill in here really pops the reds and stuff. So, and they love it. It's the smell. It smells like something. I mean, not that I eat it, but to me, it smells like the ocean again. And to me, that's what I look for, is what stuff smells like. Because if it smells good, the fish are going to attack it. And to me, I don't care how good a food is. If the fish ain't going to eat it, I don't care. It doesn't come in my room. I don't spend money on it. And I've had products. Now, there's some good products, but you never catch me feeding the water leak to my fish because it's mostly garbage. So, extreme. 1.5, and that gets mixed with my Sarah. Okay? And then, this is something I tried, and I liked it. It's the bug bites for small and medium fish, and I kind of threw this in one time to just test it. and results were great. So I think it's a quality product. I know that Fluval has some issues and stuff like that as far as distribution and stuff like that. But this product I love, and you'll see it is the second one. So I purposely put these labels on just to remind me what's in it, so when I refill, I can kind of just look at this and say, okay, I need this, this, and this. I go to the fridge, I grab it, I'll mix it, I leave the container in the fridge, and then I bring it down, and then I fill this up, and that's what the funnel, fill up. So, love this for, I use it for my discus, I use it for my angelfish, I use it for my rams. I do feed it to my catfish and plecos and let's see, and my cories, so stuff like that. I don't really feed it to my guppies. I don't feed it to my barbs. I don't feed it to my rainbow fish, and I'll talk about why a little bit, mostly for bloating reasons. But this is something that sometimes I'll just walk through the room and feed all those certain fish this too. But I have other products with it. So love, love, love this for my discus. The growth has been like off the charts. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So now this is pretty self-explanatory. I use the last of it. So this is the extreme. And what I do is I just buy the big tub of the krill and the big tub of the spirulina. Spirulina is important, especially for rainbow fish and the barbs, and I mean all the fish. Every fish in my room will eat this. Okay, so every single fish, I can dump a little bit of this in there and they'll eat it. And I think it's the krill, but they're getting that vegetable matter. Okay, so love this, love, 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 love this, and then you can get this at the waterfront. All the extreme products at the waterfront. So that's what I like, because I can go down there and get that. Let's see. Okay, so my catfish blend. Now this is something I've come up personally, and I've just put this on to kind of remind me. I haven't put all the labels on yet, which is something I haven't got to. But I'd have to put my own labels and write it because they're in these packages. So these are what I use for my plecos, and I use it for my cories, and I use it for what else? Mostly plecos and cories. And obviously my those catfish is what they eat. So I use the sinking gold cichlid, the medium pellet, sinking. It's very important. Sinking. It has to get to the bottom. What's nice is I can drop this in around my rainbow fish and my barbs, and they'll kind of nail it, but it'll fall to the bottom. And what happens is the catfish have time to suck on it because it's big enough to get away from the mid-water fish and get to the bottom, and they're not going to use it. So I find that medium pellet's good. Okay? And then I just try different things. So this is pleco bug bites. Okay, not bad. I find it's a little, I don't want to say messy. It's probably something I won't get again, because there's other products here that I think that they're just better, but it works. And then I use the sinking cichlid Excel. Love this product because it has a little bit more of that spirulina. And I do use the mini on this one because I'm okay if some of the big water fish want to snack on it. They usually get a pellet in their mouth and they suck on that thing for 10 minutes. And they spit it out and stuff like that. So it gets by them. Okay. So I love this. So far these three in for the pleco mix. And then the last one is the large cichlid gold. Oh no, this is the floating type. So this isn't it. This is for the guppies to chew on. Okay, so that's what it is the large floating type cichlid gold. We'll go over that one again. Okay, so that's the mix for. Oh, and then I do have a. Oh no. So that's it. So that's what I use for the pleco mix. And that's just a dry thing. I can drop in at any time if I'm in a hurry. Okay? So I want to talk about this one. So this is a mixture I came up with that I really love. I can drop this in any tank. It is a little bit messier, so if I'm going to feed it to a planted tank, I do, as long as there's plecos in there, I'm okay feeding it pretty heavy. But bare bottoms, I'm okay feeding it heavy because I know that they'll pick this food. It's the Extreme Nano, which is like the most incredible product. I feed it to all my fish, but mostly my smaller fish really get it all the time, especially burroughs and stuff like that. They go crazy for this stuff, so I love that. But then what I do is, so I don't have anymore, but it's the Bug Bites Tropical formula, but it's too small. But what I do with this is I just throw it in a coffee grinder. This is a little more economical to buy, so I kind of grind it down. And I get this fine little misty stuff that kind of goes, some of it floats, some of it sinks. So the Extreme and the Bug Bites, I love that. I use this a lot. So I usually go through I fill it about halfway, and I get a container. I probably go through a container every 2 weeks. There's a lot, it's condensed. So let's talk about fry food. The fry food. So this was originally Aquarium Co-op. I liked the bottle, so I kept it because it's thick, and I just like this bottle. These dollar store bottles are good, but they kind of kink a little bit, so that's what I like. But they work, and I'll use them until they break. But I like this, and it just, for me, it's just a reminder what it is, the fry food. So that's why. But I reuse. I make my own products. I don't keep buying it, and I just throw it in a coffee grinder. But I do add some stuff. So one thing I've found with the fried foods, and this is something that I love to do, is the Rapashi Spawn and Grow. So I don't mix this. What I do is I just pop it open, I put it in a container, and I feed it dry to rainbow fish, to small fish, really small fish. Rams get it. What's nice is it kind of throws a film on the top of it, and those fish just pick on it. But it slowly sinks, but so bottom fish get it eventually. And it's so dense. I mean, literally I put it on, I use a paintbrush, and I'll just tap the paintbrush, and it just kind of throws a skim over it. But then what I do is I mix. So I take this product in here, I take this product, I take my lovely spirulina that I get at the health food store, and I buy this by the bag full. I use this all day long. I could just use this as a fried food. So this would be awesome right here. So this would work as a fried food. And it's so fine that every fry, I mean even the smallest rainbow fish will eat it. So it's awesome. But then what I do is I go a step further because I'm crazy. I will go and I crush this stuff up. I put this in a coffee grinder, and I grind it till it's so fine. Now, no matter how much I grind it, it's still bigger than this, but enough gets shaved off where it has that film feeling. So these three, that film. So that's my fry. So I mix this, grind this. I don't need to grind this because it's a powder, and I don't need to grind this. So these three for growing up fry, first fry, because that's the hardest thing with the small stuff, the rams, is getting their food. Breeding is pretty easy. I mean, I won't say it's easy, but getting the fish to lay eggs just takes certain things, certain conditions, certain triggers, and stuff like that. It's when they hatch, that's when the struggle begins. So between these three, just grinded in the coffee grinder, the vinegar eels, and the microworms, great success. Now with the fry, I'm gonna be very honest. You need to touch that tank 3 times a day. And when I say touch a tank, that means when I touch a tank, usually I'm feeding it or changing its water. So in the fry system, I don't have to change the water as much because it's circulating, but 3 times minimum, morning, afternoon, night. Now I get in 2 small feedings in between that. So morning, mid-morning, afternoon, mid-afternoon, and then night. I find great success. But if you think you're going to grow fry in the first month and not feed them every day, or feed them at least 2-3 times a day, you'll have losses. You do have losses anyways, and that could be genetics or anything like that. But you have to get in there and touch the tanks. So I know this video ran a little long, and I didn't really set up because I'm working today. I'm trying to get everything set up. I'm getting my black rams breeding. I have 12 of them, and they're pairing up, so I'm going to get those in the tanks. My gold rams are starting to pair up, so I'm going to get those going. I have some Germans that I'm working on, not my own strain, but I've thrown a little bit of electric glue in them, and they've come out really nice, and they got nice red heads and stuff because of the gold in them and stuff like that. So they are a hybrid, but they still have that gold, that German feel, they have a spot in it. But I've also got some hybrids, 3 or 4 generations out, and I have a pair that have, a pair that have spawned, and they kind of reverted back to the wild strain. So I'm excited about that because I want to get that back into my strains. It could take years, but I want to get that back in and make them party for local people here. But also it can go nationwide because waterfront ship. So that's about it. Let's see, what else am I setting up today? I'm setting up my Cories. I have stir-by that I'm setting up. I have the Venezuelans that are ready. I have my pandas that are ready. I'm going to try the Pandagara. I don't have much experience. I've never bred them, but I've done a bunch of research, so I'm going to try to breed those. Taking my fish the other day, opened up like 10 tanks, so it's exciting when you have empty tanks because new projects can start. Let's see, what other fish do I have? I have some other Cories. I have some long fins that I want to try, some greens and albinos and stuff like that across that, see if I can get. And then the discus are growing out, so I'm kind of working on those a little bit. I have some in quarantine that I just got, some half-wild heckles, and it has no name, but I call it the sunshine discus. It's sunset discus. It is beautiful. It's got a gold middle with red. It does have some slight black on the edges, not bad, so we can hopefully breed that out, but it's still a stunning fish. So it's in quarantine right now. It's going to cross over with my red covers. So lots of projects coming up that I'm going to try. Tons of praycock. I have about 500, let me say about 300 dwarf neon praycocks right now that are growing out. I have a ton of the platies growing out, and stuff like that. So busy. So I just kind of wanted to pop this out because I told some of you I was going to try to make a video today. I know it's going to be on discus. So I'm going to do a discus series on keeping discus, how to keep them, how I keep them, not how to keep them, how I keep them, how to grow discus out, because I think a lot of people struggle with that as far as getting young discus and then keeping them looking good, and then breeding discus, how I breed them. Now I've sold all my breeding pairs, so I'm growing out discus, so that one might be a couple months out because I have 20 that are about 2 or 3 months out, so that I should be able to kick into breeding pretty quick. So I'll be crossing those out with other strains and stuff like that to keep them. But excited because when tanks get empty, that means I can start new projects. When I can start new projects, I get excited again. I get ready to go, and I just love the process. So it's something that I really enjoy. So I just wanted to drop this video real quick. I know it's not the highest quality. And that's one thing that I'm going to work on is getting better quality videos. I talked with Peter a lot at the waterfront, and he really has great gear, so I'm going to try to pick his brain a little bit and try to become better at this. But like I said, I didn't have high expectations, and to even have as many subscribers as I do, I'm pretty excited about it. So it's kind of given me a little bit of a, I'd say, push kind of do more as far as this goes. I'm getting a little more comfortable and stuff like that, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So I just want to thank all of you for subscribing and watching the videos, and if you're not, I really would appreciate it because I guarantee I'll be doing tons of video on what I do, and it's about results. If I'm not getting results, then it doesn't mean anything. So I'm all about that, and so yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for subscribing. I just wanted to say I'm going to really focus on showing you everything good and bad. So I wanted to make that very clear from the beginning. I'm not going to just say it's all roses and lollipops or rainbows, because it's not. It's work, and there's failures, and the failures are the key. I say that over and over again. To fail is just that's your path to success, and it's not just in the fishery. That's life in general. I don't want to get into that because that's a whole other video series and platform. But you get in, you do it, you fall down, you get up, and you just keep doing that, and the next thing you know, you're a success. I remember in the 90s when I started beating discus, I had people tell me, oh, don't even bother, because it won't happen. It's just impossible. And back then it was word of mouth and books. That's how and I read books, and I read books, and I read books. And one thing I found with the books is it was hard to get the real information. So I got an outline, and then I kind of just went through those, and I just kept trying and failing and trying and trying, and then one day I succeeded, and I wrote down everything I did, and I just kind of went back and I tried again. I failed, I succeeded. So the discus thing, I really love that, and it's something that I want to keep doing. But this room was supposed to be a discus room, but for me, it's something that I've done continuously for a long time, and I just wanted to try other stuff. So I'm really excited about the angels and the cories and the catfish and the plecos, and even I get excited about guppies, which is strange because it's something that I never thought I would get into, is guppies and platies and mollies. And I'm really enjoying the dwarf coral platies. Those things are amazing looking to me. And they're just fun because you set them. I don't want to say you set them and forget them, but you kind of set them and just, they do their thing. And for me, that's very strange, because everything that I'm involved with is usually so hands-on, and I have to really focus, and I have to really learn to, set a schedule and be at there a certain time. And sometimes I don't feel like going and feeding, and I get my butt up and I go feed, because I know if I don't, all that work I put in is going to be for nothing. So it motivates me to do that hard stuff, and it also is fun to watch the fish kind of do their own thing. So it's something that I never thought I'd really get into. So I don't want to keep rambling. I got a ton of work to do today, so I really appreciate you if you're watching. And that's it. Take care.